Hello, people of the internet. For those of you watching, you're a little bit ahead of our audio listeners because, as you're probably able to spy from the background here, I am on vacation. So it's going to be a little bit different today. I'm doing some traveling for the next few weeks, so I'm not going to be in the studio doing episodes. I don't have my fancy camera or mic, but for the good of you people out there, I decided to record anyway. I know when I leave you alone for too long, you start gnawing at your limbs like a pack of wild dogs, so I didn't want to do that to you, so I'm going out of my way to record something. I am a little bit ahead of you right now, so it looks like daylight here, but it's probably pretty dark there, or maybe not necessarily. Getting light. Anyway, we'll get it uploaded before the middle of the day, U.S. time. So I debated on what we were going to chat about on today's episode because there's a lot of stuff in the news this week. You got Michael Cohen being a no good, dirty thief, which we already knew. The Iranian president failed helicopter flying class. The International Criminal Court issued an arrest warrant for Benjamin Netanyahu. All that stuff, very interesting. Would have been great topics to talk about, but ultimately I decided no. I'm on vacation. I don't want to think about all that nonsense in the news. So when I'm on vacation, you're on vacation. That's the way it's going to work. And instead of talking about all of that stuff, all that heavy nonsense that we deal with on a day-to-day basis, we're going to have a little bit of a different kind of message. A shorter episode, but a message of hope today for all you people out there, so we don't fall into that pit of despair I was talking about at the top of the show, gnawing the limbs, etc., etc. It's easy to forget when we are wrapped up in the 24-hour news cycle and on the internet constantly. It's easy to forget how people really behave. So too much of the internet is a bad thing. It really is. And it's easy to see that now that we've had the internet for as long as we have. What happens to the people who are chronically online? They're just not healthy people. They're not. They're more anxious, more depressed. It's just a bad thing to be addicted to your phones or the laptop or whatever. It's not good. Because all of this stuff, since the invention of the like button on Facebook, is algorithmically amplified. And if you run a company like Facebook or Twitter or YouTube, your goal is traffic. You want people to watch your show or your product, which is your app. And in order to do that, you have to keep their eyeballs interested. So these algorithms tend to amplify voices that are controversial and divisive. So you say something stupid, you put it up on X, formerly Twitter, then that stupid or controversial thing will get more traffic than someone saying, I love my mom and I always, take my hat off when I'm in a restaurant. It's like, no one cares. Okay, you love your mom, that's great. I care, it's great. But most people don't care if people love their moms or are good people or observe the basic rules of decorum for restaurants. Most people don't care about these things. But they do care when you put up some hot take on some hot button political issue and all of a sudden then they get to see it because you get pushed forward by the algorithm. So it's easy to forget how people really behave. And in real life, people are nice for the most part. They're not always. A lot of people walk around, they're rude or they're in their own little bubbles, so they're not necessarily intentionally rude, they're just self-absorbed. But face to face, when you're talking to people, when you're dealing with people, most people are nice. They generally are, as a rule. They tend to follow the basic rules of respect. They will behave in such a way that it's easy to interact with most people. Now, I know there are terrible people out there. We can all point to examples. We've all run into people who are rude or, again, self-absorbed, narcissistic, something like this. But for the most part, we're going to treat it as a rule. We have to treat people like they are nice. That's just the way it should be. And most people don't online because it's easy. You score points, you get basically cred from your side when you push these opinions that are controversial, or when you're dunking on the opposition. It's fun. Everyone does it. I'm not going to say I don't. Whenever Cori Bush or AOC says something stupid, I want to be the first to dogpile on and say, what's wrong with you? But it's not a good habit, and it's certainly not a virtuous habit. It's certainly not something that is good for you as a person to constantly be looking to dunk on people. It's not something that's nice. In real life, we don't do that. Even if I met AOC or Cori Bush, I'd be very respectful, because that's just the way you should be. And my rule has always been the Roadhouse rule. It's a great rule. Patrick Swayze really said it perfectly. You be nice until it's time to not be nice. Most of the time, if you lead with niceties, if you lead with respect, if you lead with a smile, you will get that back in return. I try and do that in my day-to-day life. It's very rare that I meet someone and I lead with disrespect. That's just, I don't see the point for that. You never know how a person's going to behave, even if you know them by reputation, until you give them a chance. So lead with niceties. Be nice, be respectful. That's just always going to help you more than the other way around. Oh, it's getting loud over here. Salve. So we can look to other examples of this as well, where some people just pass with dogs, by the way. There's a little pause. So we can see that people in real life, you know what they do? You know what people in real life do? When there's a flood or a tornado or a natural disaster, a tsunami, whatever the case may be, you find people by the boatloads who want nothing more than to help other people. You'll see people who volunteer every week down at the homeless shelters, handing out food, doing all sorts of things of this nature, just because that's how they spend their time. That's how they want to interact. That's how they want to be in the world. And it's a great thing. People help other people. People step up in moments where they don't need to. There's nothing that forces you. Nothing compels you that you have to do these things. People just do. Not everybody, but people do. So don't allow yourself to be corrupted by the internet. Don't wind up being bitter. Don't wind up being full of hate. Don't fall victim to the manipulation of social media companies in Silicon Valley who don't like you and just view you as a product. So don't do that. Don't allow yourself to be that person. Walk outside. I don't know where it is where you are, but right now it's sunny and beautiful. It's 72 degrees and it's gorgeous. And it's important to remember that life can be like this. It's not always going to be sunny, but you can make it nice. And just remember that. So my message for this very abbreviated podcast that is no news is just go outside, touch grass, do something. Go, if you're older, play with your kids, call your grandkids, go do something with your spouse or girlfriend or boyfriend or whomever. Go outside, walk the dog, do something. Enjoy your life. Go have an adventure. And we don't do enough of that. Again, I'm one of those people. I don't do enough of it. I'm not trying to sit here and tell you my life is all vacations. It certainly isn't. But it's important to every once in a while just take a moment and stop and pause and say, it can be nice. And we don't have to be mean and we don't have to be divided. That people have more in common than they do differ. That it is true that even people who generally don't like each other have something in common for the most part. And especially in the United States. The United States, I understand, we're a melting pot. It's very multicultural now, and we have a bunch of different people, ethnicities, and religions, and that's great. It can be great because if we all melt a little, it's fine. It's just easy to remember that Democrats, Republicans, Trump supporters, Biden supporters, whomever. It's easy to say, well, we don't like them, they don't like us, but that's not true for the most part. For the most part, most people don't care enough to dislike people based on those things. So don't you be one of those people. And we're going to leave it there for the week. Like I said, it's an abbreviated episode, a short one. I'll be on vacation. I'll probably be, I guess, the next 2 episodes after this as well. I will also be on vacation. So you might get different episodes like this, but I'll record from wherever I'm at, by the way. I'm sure you can put together with some context clues, but enjoy guessing where I'm at, and I will catch you guys next week. Until then, ciao.